What's up, YouTube? It's me, artisanmc, and today I'm going to react to House of the Dragon episode 7. Now, I know this is a little late, but I got wrapped up in work and trying to make sure I got a stream out to you guys on Monday, which was not my regular shop talk day, but I did it because I wasn't able to give you one on Sunday, so they kind of pushed back this review of House of the Dragon. Even though I talked about it on that stream, there was some more stuff that I went into. And since Sunday when that episode aired, I've watched it about 2 times now. Probably a third one. I might watch it again tonight just because I get so excited about talking about it. But this episode of this is the internal angst that they have carried between each other for, at this point, at least 10 or more years. And you get to see how those strained interpersonal relationships and that tension behind the straining of those interpersonal relationships gets brought to the surface as soon as one person dies and everybody has to be in the same room together, in the same place at the same time. And I don't know, Trust a Funeral would be the place where people really just are not talking. So this episode opens with a really quiet and somber funeral that nobody is really speaking. And I really appreciated the words that Corliss's brother, whose name I'm not thinking of right now, but the words that his brother was delivering as the eulogy for his niece dying and being her body being put to rest at sea. Now, I thought it was a bit interesting because in the midst of all this people, the king and everybody is there, he is throwing barbs at Rhaenyra and those kids. Not unmistakable. He's throwing barbs about how that family line will not be distilled, will not be thinned, or anything like that. And while he's saying all of that, he's looking directly at Rhaenyra. He's looking directly at her kids, her sons, who are obviously not of Targaryen or Valyrian stock. Obvious. Come on, man. But because she is the heir apparent and the king is there, nobody will speak ill of her about that in front of her. So there is going. The part where most people think is kind of beast, which it is kind of beast, or just kind of savage for him, where he talks about his bloodline never being thinned or anything like that. There is a chuckle from Damon. Now, most people think this chuckle is because Damon is laughing at that guy for saying that, right? But no, he's laughing because he understands what the guy means because his blood has been thinned because Lanor has no children. He has no natural born children. And Damon knows Lanor's proclivities. He knows it. That's why he's laughing. He knows that. Outside of the fact that, Rhaenyra's kids he knows are not Lanor's sons. They're just not. So that's why it's comical. Now, as a black man, I can take that as a low-key jab to say, yeah, we laughing because we're erasing your ass. But in the context of the book, the Valerians on Driftmark weren't black. So he's just laughing at white folks, doing their thing. Now, the scene after this is where they're at, which would be the reception. And everyone is just milling around, looking at each other. Nobody is really saying shit. It's really quiet. It's really hushed. People are wearing their colors. And nobody is saying anything, really. They talking in hushed tones, but they are not talking. And that was really eerie to me. It's like, they're not even going to talk to each other at the funeral. They because it's so much uncomfortability there. It just goes without saying. Now, the one thing I did like about this scene is that the establishing shot to where they were having a reception panned down, and you got to see all of Driftmark and see the castle and go down to the landing where they are. And you see dragons all over the place. You see the dragons that are existing right now, about 5 of them, all sitting there flying around. Now, I thought that was actually cool because I do look to see what the dragons look like in House of the Dragon. I do. I just think they need to punch up the color on them so you can tell them apart. Otherwise, it just looks like pretty much the same damn dragon, just bigger or smaller. So maybe second season they'll punch up the color a little bit more so you can tell the difference between each dragon, so you know if they're into a fight, you understand who's who without having to see who the rider is. Just saying. Now, this scene at the reception stands out to me for a few things. One of which is Otto is back as King Viserys's hand. I don't know why Otto is back. Well, I know why because I've been watching the show. But for me, I would not have brought him back for nothing. I just wonder about that. Like, were there no other candidates? We couldn't train a new hand? I mean, no, he had to leave for a reason. That reason has not changed. So I thought that was a little dumb of Viserys. But at the same time, King Viserys did something I thought was really honorable, which is he saw his brother. He knows his brother should be in some kind of pain. He feels for his brother, and he got up and went over to his brother to talk to him. Now, I thought that was pretty big of him because Daemon is just sitting back. He is kind of aloof to this whole thing. It's not really clear if he cared too much about Atlanta. He probably really didn't. He maybe doesn't care that much about those girls, which is not surprising. But he's just there because he's supposed to be there. And so that's where he is. Now, Viserys uses the opportunity to talk to him to try to make amends. Bring him back home, bring him back to King's Landing, bring him back into the court. That it's his brother. He loves his brother. Okay, no matter what he's done over the years, he still loves his brother. He wanted you within his family. And for me, I don't think that's bad of Viserys. I don't look at him negatively because of that. I understand the idea of wanting peace and wanting your family to be whole and together. He knows he's dying. He has to know he's dying. Before you die, what would you want if you were in that position? If you were in that position, what would you want? Would you want to see your family all fractured up and infighting and waiting to cut each other's throats as soon as you turn your head and lay your eyes to sleep for too long? No, he wants that unity. He wants that people that he cares about around him and tight. Well, that's what he's trying to work on with them. But in typical Daemon fashion, it doesn't go that way because Daemon does not want any help from King Viserys. He doesn't. He doesn't really want it. But that's just Daemon's character. Instead of looking or being weak, he will rather suffer than look weak. He won't do it. So he eschews himself and refuses his brother's offer, which disappoints his brother. Now, the other thing that happens in this is you get to see that the children have picked up some of this internal, dysfunction from the mothers in the different houses. They're clearly wearing their respective colors, the greens and the blacks. They're clearly wearing their colors, but they're not really into this fully yet. They say little barbs at each other and understand the larger context of what's going on with these children, the parentage, the lineage, and all of that stuff like kids do. They learn what the lay of the land is from the adults and just from paying attention. They don't really want any parts of it, but they're there. It's being baked into the cake, so to speak. So they throw it out there a little bit. And so you get a touching little scene where Rhaenyra's son, Jacaerys, he's sad because he understands that Sir Harwin Strong was his father and that his father is now dead. His biological father is now dead. And he feels sad. But Rhaenyra reinforces with him that the Strongs are not their blood. They're not their family. These folks are their family. And she wants him to go over and console Daemon's daughters who have just lost their mother. She wants him to put aside his own grief at the moment because duty-wise it would be inappropriate and let on more than she wants known that anybody with a pair of eyes can't see, and go and comfort his cousins. And he acquiesces a bit and he does go over. And although he can't really muster the right words to say, he does at least hold her hand. And I thought that was a decent scene because it shows that kids, in a sense, don't want any part of this adult BS. They don't. They're not a part of it, really. They're not a part of it till they get drawn so far into it that they have to start acting on it. And they get put into positions where they have to act on it. And that's when it becomes a part of it. It's no different than, somebody whose father or mother was a gangbanger and out in the streets and stuff like that. They try to keep the kids away from it for the most part until the kids actually get so close to it that they can't be in it. They start doing their own dirt and they're in. They're in it. They can't be any other way. They can't shake it off of them. So that's where I see these children at this point. They're at that tipping point between this is some adult bullshit. I don't want any parts of this. I got my own things I'm trying to figure out, and being to the point like, fuck it, I'm all in. That's what this episode kind of served as a point for the fulcrum for that to happen. Now, the other stuff that happens in the episode is that you see Alicent's children, be it Aegon and Aemon. They're there, and they're not really relishing the point of being there at all. They're not interested in actually being there. But Aegon is taking it upon himself to, have a lot of drinks. Not just one, not just two, but a few cups of wine. And this made me kind of laugh in a sense to see a Targaryen drinking that damn hard, because I'm thinking if Aegon had been born like, I don't know, 120 years later, maybe him and Tyrion could have been friends. They at least could have chased women and drank together. Like, it seems like a reoccurring theme with George R. Martin that he has to have one person in there that drinks and womanizes a little bit. Like they just gotta love life a little bit. You know, be it Tyrion, be it Aegon, and which makes it kind of funny. Like he knows what he likes. I don't have a problem with that. He ain't really interested in this Game of Thrones shit. He's not really concerned with that. Yes, his mother is beating it into his head. He gets it. His father is the king. Cool. But look, hey, she got some nice long legs. Let me chase that. Wench. Sorry, wench. That's just kind of funny to me. It's just a teenage boy being a teenage boy. I mean, this is a better scene than the last one of him standing up on the balcony and jerking it onto the crowd. I'm like, come on, man. What is that? That's way too much, right? So he's kind of a weirdo, but he's kind of a funny weirdo in a sense, right? The other child, Aemon, he's still in this place where he feels like he doesn't fit. You know, he wants to say something to his cousins about the passing of their mother, but he can't really say anything. He just ends up walking away. And it's because he has a lot more internal conflict going on about where he is, where he belongs, or whatnot. And through the course of this episode, that grows and develops for him, and you see a change in his personality, which is very, very fascinating to see. Like, oh, wow, this is going to be something. This is one of the things that I'm looking forward to the next episode. Now, just to give you the overview of it. Moving ahead in this, after this whole reception is over, everybody starts filtering out of here, and Rhaenyra talks to her boys and sends Jacaerys and Lucerys to bed, and she kind of saunters off or sneaks off after Daemon after he is left from talking to the king. She kind of goes after him because it's been years. They haven't seen each other and talked for years. Kids are going their way. Some of the other people are going their way. So everybody's kind of filtering out and deciding where they're going to go. And you get a couple of really interesting developmental scenes with characters on what they're doing at this time and the conversations they have. And one of the most poignant conversations is the conversation between, I believe her name is Rhaenyra and Lord Corlys. And they have just, buried or confined to a watery grave their daughter, Aelena. And Queen Rhaena is telling Corlys that she wants the legacy or the crown and the kingdom and the castle to pass on to Baela, Daemon's daughter, oldest daughter, through Elena's line, because she knows, just like everybody else does, that those kids that Rhaenyra has is not her son Laena's kids. She knows it, and she's not for it. And she tries to persuade her husband, Lord Corlys, to make that decree now while everyone is here, the king, the family, and everything, so it can be done, and they can cover it by saying, well, we did this in honor of Aelena. And it was a really interesting part where Corlys, doesn't agree with her. But how he disagrees with her is interesting. It's one of the most beast lines in the show, where he says that history does not remember blood. They remember names. And even though his wife, that they've been loyal, to each other for years. They've been down with each other for years. He has really rolled for her. She's rolled for him. Is trying to comfort him by holding his hand and just really talk, have a real conversation with him. He's like, no, can't have a part of this conversation. And I thought that was really really fascinating to watch that understand it, because that whole scene with the two of them talking was so just real talk. And to me, that's husband and wives talking, like just being real with each other. And it feeds into why Lena and Rhaenyra can have the relationship they have, where she knows his proclivities. He kind of understands hers, and she's like, "Look, we're gonna do our duty, but you can do what you do, and I do what I do." And he was fine and understanding with that. It seems like it filters from this source, which is Lord Corlys and Lady Rihanna can actually talk to each other like that. Let's be real in our own castle. It's just you and me. Them ain't his kids. Them ain't his kids. Now that still makes me laugh in a sense, because every time I hear somebody in this show, some woman in this show, telling another man, like, look, them is not her kids. Them is not that man's kids. I always think of an old black grandmother. Look, that ain't your baby boy. You know, it always kind of makes me chuckle with that, because those are the people who would know. And those, in some senses, those women are the keeper of those tales like that, the keeper of those secrets. They know better. They know better. They see all the babies, they give birth to the babies. They know where these babies come from. They always know. And they can tell if one ain't came from their stock. They just, look, they know. Okay, you ain't sneaking it past them. The dudes will be like, yeah, okay, well, whatever. No, never fooling a woman on that one. Never. So, but that made me laugh. But that interaction between the two of them was some really genuine freaking acting. Just the way, Corliss knows she's right. He knows he's right. He's not a fool. But how it's acted, in the sense, his accepting of that truth and understanding where she's going with it, is met with him not agreeing with her, but just a fall back in his chair. Like, it's the weight of understanding, like, shit, my family line is damn near over. That's what that means. It is damn near over. And he's faced with a decision. Does he pass over his son and give it to his daughter's kids? Or does he give it to his son's kids? Which clearly don't look nothing like them at all. His granddaughter's got the white hair and the brown skin. His grandson's got dark hair and the pale skin. Okay. So that was interesting. The other scene is Rhaenyra and Daemon having a chance to talk out on the beach with nobody around. Now, I still think in this scene where they're walking on the beach, it is dark as fuck. I don't know what that guy was thinking, shooting it that damn dark, but I found out recently he's the same guy who shot the not the final episodes, but the Winter Has Come episode, or the dark episode where the Night King was killed. He shot that one too. It's like, yeah, that's too fucking dark, dude. What the fuck? I thought it was just me, but listening to other folks on the internet, everybody had the same problem. So, okay, it's not me. It's not. I didn't have a cheap TV or anything like that. No, it was dark. Now, beyond that, the two of these people haven't seen each other in at least a decade or so. And the conversation they had is so admitting, to a sense, right? That Damon should be depressed. He doesn't really seem depressed. He just seems a little despondent, right? His wife is gone. His children have lost their mother, who really loved them and cared for him. He could care. He could not care. It still, in some senses, remains to be seen. But they're having this conversation and they're comparing what happened in their lives. And it hits on something that I talked about with females before, that some feelings never change. It's always there. It's always there. It doesn't matter what you do, who you've been with, what has happened to you in that interim. coming back and seeing that person goes away. It is always hard to resist that shit. It's like magnets being pulled together. If you waited 20 years before you put the magnets back together, do you think they would not still attract to each other? Yes, they would. And that's what it is with Rhaenyra and Daemon. Daemon has been the one for her. Good, bad, or indifferent, Daemon has been the one for her. And Rhaenyra, for Daemon, has kind of been that one he wanted too. Now, is it for power? Is it for the throne? Yeah, it could be all of that shit. Could be all of that shit. But it doesn't change the fact that she is the one he wants. He don't care about these other people. And they have, on the beach, in the dark, have a real conversation about what their life has become since that one moment they had together that didn't get fulfilled. And I thought that was some powerful talking from a woman understanding her own person, her own mind, her own heart, her own body. Yes, Rhaenyra is a bit vulnerable right now because the suspicion and the talk is not even a chatter, really. It's just people know it, giving her the side eye, but ain't saying nothing because the king doesn't decrees them not to. But everybody's knowing that you don't have no natural kids. You don't have any natural kids of your husband. You stepped out 3 times. Right? Mama's babies, daddy's maybes. Okay. Everybody knows that, and it makes her position incredibly weak. Now, although she is weak, she still has some emotional angst with Daemon. She wanted Daemon. She did, uncle or not. They always had a really good connection since she was little. And she wants him. That's it. And this scene is really interesting because you get to see a woman being assertive and romantically assertive and going after the things that she wants. And in some ways, you don't usually see that in television. I thought it was really interesting that she was the one pushing it. Daemon wasn't pushing it. Daemon was the one who walked away from her. And she was upset with Daemon because he did that. That's why she went and slept with Sir Christian. But at this moment, Daemon's not running from her. He's just kind of holding himself a bit back. And feminine wiles being feminine wiles, she touched him in the right spot. She kissed him the right way. And then we off to the races. Dragon spawning. It is what it is. It's not the real world. Is it weird? Yeah, but look, if you want to go to the real world, there's somebody married to their uncle right now somewhere. Trust and believe. Somebody out there is married to their uncle right now. So it's not that damn weird. Okay? It may not be your life. It may not be my life, but it is somebody's life. It is. So, Daemon and Rhaenyra get, busy on the beach in the dark, and it reminds you of every, tropical vacation fantasy you ever had. Sex on the beach is a thing, and cake by the ocean. I don't know what to tell you. It's kind of funny to me to think about, but they do what they do. Now, while this is all going on, you see that Aemon has not taken his ass to bed. No, he gets intrigued before he leaves the reception, he gets intrigued because he hears the dragon flying behind the clouds and sees where it's going. And he's intrigued. So he goes that way. Now, the dragon that he is following is Vhagar, Elena's dragon. And as it goes in this show, you have a dragon, you're a dragon rider, and you die. Your dragon is pretty much up for grabs. It can bond or it won't bond with another person because the dragons form a bond with their rider. Like you're born, you get an egg, that's your boy. It's like getting a puppy, right? So Aemon has followed this dragon to where it has landed and sleeping on a drift mark. And That's pretty interesting that this boy has enough spunk in himself at what I'm guessing is about 10 to want to go after the biggest and oldest dragon around and walk up to him. And like he's just really trying to go after this dragon. Now, we already know how hard he wants a dragon. Like after that little pig incident, which was messed up, and him going down into the dragon crypt. It's messed up. He really wants the dragon, and he doesn't want to be that outsider anymore. And he goes after this dragon because it doesn't have a rider. It doesn't have a rider, so it's up for grabs in a sense. And he walks up on this dragon. Now, I just think this took stones. It did take some damn stones because this scene was actually good for the scale of how big Vagar is to how small. I wouldn't mess up these names because I keep trying to really hard to remember them. Amond is compared to that dragon. And I like that. I like seeing that scale. I like seeing that it has to really show that this boy is really have to be determined. And when he tries to grab the cargo netting that's on the dragon, the netting that's on the dragon to get to the top of it because it's so big, the dragon does wake up. And the dragon does look him up and down, just looks at him. And the dragon kind of just doesn't think about him. Like, I kind of believe the dragon was already kind of feeling him, but wanted him to stop where he was and not do anything else. That's why I went ahead and put his head back down. I wasn't worried about him necessarily. But when he tried it again, that's when the dragon got a little buck with him and tried to really scare him. It didn't do anything really overt. And when it did, he kind of calmed it, speaking Valerian to it. And it kind of heated to them. It's like, okay, so, excuse my nose is itchy. The dragon has its own intelligence, and the dragon is kind of feeling his kid, but it's not going to make it easy for him. All right. Now, Aemon does climb the cargo netting and gets to the top of the dragon, and it's a good shot of the scale once he's sitting atop this dragon and looking down at the sand. And look, it's a freaking Doom reference if I ever saw one. But yeah, it's Paul Atreides sitting on top of a great sandworm. That's what I thought of. Okay, but it's a good depiction of scale. And once he's up there, that dragon starts running and takes the fuck off. Now, to me, this is the dragon testing him. You can stay up there. You know, you got 8 seconds on me. This is the Bronco. You got 8 seconds. Can you hang on? And that's what the dragon does. The dragon just tests him. It's not him really winning the dragon over. The dragon has already decided, to me, that it's fine with Aemon. But it has to see if he's good enough to be his rider. And so it takes off and starts doing his thing. Starts doing dragon shit, flying, trying to shake his ass off of there and see, does he fall off or what? Is he going to be good enough? Can he hang on? Can he ride this bull or what? And that was so much fun. I mean, it really did look like some never-ending story shit. I mean, I could have yelled Falkor the whole time. But how it works and putting myself imagination-wise in that scene, in that time, flying on the back of the biggest dragon in this world at night over the ocean with the wind and stuff, that had to be like that would have to be a beautiful feeling. Beautiful fucking feeling. And it has to be like some American flyer, Flight of the Navigator stuff, that it opens up a young boy to the rest of the world. And he grows from that experience. He can never be the same after that experience. After the experience of finally having a dragon after all these years and riding the dragon and seeing what that is, that exhilaration. When that dragon comes back down to the ground and lands, Aemon stays on it, and he lands, is like, yeah, he's feeling good about himself. He's a completely different person because he can no longer go back to who he was. That ride was the ride of a man, not a ride of a child. And when it acts like a man. And this is where the episode picks up a lot. Now, I'm not for abusing children. I don't like seeing little kids fight necessarily, but this is fictional. Okay, this is fucking fictional. And when he comes back and the other children, Bela, Damon's kids, have been roused by the fact that Vagar the dragon was flying away. Somebody took him. And they wake up Jason and Luke, Jaceres and Luke Harris, to come with them down to see who's taking this dragon once it comes back. And they come out the tunnel and they see that it's Aemon. They really start bitching. And you can understand the girls for bitching at him that's their mother's dragon. Chances are they've grown up their whole life with that dragon. They know that dragon. That dragon knows them. They could have thought, hey, this passes to me afterwards. And he tells them flat out, no, that dragon didn't have a rider. It's mine now. I claimed it. Well, they mad. It's kid shit. Like, look, you jumped me in line. No, you cut in line. Nah, it's not cool. Now, what happens after this is that they really actually end up having a full-on fight. And that's what's kind of hilarious about this, is because Aemon, the girls attack him, and he starts fucking putting straight hands to the girls, like punching them dead in their shit. And while story-wise, it's like, oh my God, these kids are going in. You have to remember, Aemon is trained. He's been out there with the knights and stuff training. So Christian's been training him for years. He might not have been the best, but he was getting trained. I don't know how much training those girls have had. I give them points for having that spunk and that fire, but goddamn, he was beating the shit out of them. Now, true enough, the rest of the kids joined in and tried to start, whooping on him and holding him down, but he is too much for them. He is way, way too well trained. He is beating them kids up, and it just turns into a real brawl. And I'm kind of entertained by this, about how hard these kids are going, because I never thought I would see that in this show. I never thought I would see that at all. Why would I expect, watching House of the Dragon, that a bunch of 10-year-olds was going to be in a knockdown, drag-out fight where in the middle of the fight, somebody pulls out a knife and it's like, oh, this shit just got real. We have a whole knife fight now. Now, through this brawling, Aemon at one point grabs a rock, stone that's in the sand. He smashed Lucerys in the face with it, like busted his nose or some shit. I'm like, damn, he is going in. Now, mind you, these is all cousins. Now, as shocking as that can sound to everybody, I'm black. You and your cousins could get into some shit like this over fucking playing Madden, okay? It can happen, okay? Depending on your family, depending on your background, y'all motherfuckers will fight like that over a game of dominoes or something. And it won't be no thing in the morning. It just won't. So don't act like this is weird, okay? I know who I'm talking to. Don't act like it's weird. Now, he's going after his cousins. And this was the thing that caught me later on when I thought about it a little more, is that because of the color swaps in this, the ethnicity swaps in this, I thought the scene with Aemon punching Bela, and I'm forgetting the other daughter's name, in the face and knocking him down played a little bit different, because basically you have a little white boy beating up two little black girls. And that bothered me a bit. That actually bothered me. I was like, well, that's not okay. I'm enjoying the kids brawling on the screen, but that's hit me a little different way. Now, I'm not sure if anybody else gave a damn about that, because I've heard no other reviewer even mention that shit. Like, I thought this was the age of, protect all women and shit like that. No, these little girls getting punched in the face, and ain't nobody said shit and even thought that it warranted a mention. They don't care. So I guess that is their reaction. The lack of reaction is the reaction. It doesn't matter to them. was okay. I thought it was a little much at that point, from a racial standpoint or ethnicity standpoint. I thought it was a bit much. But during this fight, since Aemon has a rock and he's threatening to beat the shit out of the other boys, the strong boys, and kind of curses them because they ganging up on him and tells them that he calls them bastard because he knows that about them not being Lucerys's kids, but that the one brother, that Luke doesn't know that. He kind of lets him go, shows some mercy on him, but the boys is in for the kill. So when he comes in again, Luke throws sand in his face. He's blinded, and Jacaerys comes in with his knife and cuts that boy right up his fucking face and cuts his fucking eye. I'm like, damn, these motherfuckers is tripping. Now, mind you, I have not read the book. I just bought the book. Just bought the book last weekend. I have not read this shit. I didn't know that was coming for him. So when I saw it, I was like, damn, he just cut that boy whole face up. He got $150. Like, God damn. These kids is too much. These kids is too much. I was really into the episode at that point. Like, what the hell is going on, right? Now, the knights come, the maesters come, and they check him out, and his face is fucked up. And now everybody is woken up and they are brought into the hall in the castle with the king, with the families, the moms, and everybody showing back up at this one hall to find out what the hell was going on with these damn kids. And now it's the opposite of the beginning scene at the reception where nobody was talking. Now everybody in the room got some words. They're all together again, and everybody got something to say, or at least watch what's going on. And the story that is given to King Viserys about the fighting and stuff like that shows Viserys' hand in the sense that he does not want all this infighting with his family. He doesn't really want this shit. And he wants to know what happened because as a king, he has to decide on this because it's his job to settle this shit. And he starts questioning the boys. He questions Aemon, like, what the hell happened and why did it happen? And things start being said, and namely about Aemon calling Rhaenyra's sons bastards, that it wasn't really him. And King Viserys puts it to his son to tell him who told him such a thing. Now, this was the part, we talked about it on Shop Talk Live 331. This was the part that's like, oh, shit. Where if you were a real person in this scene, in this world, and it was real, you would have been shut up, too. You'd have been hush mouth, too. Like, looking at the floor and looking at the embroidery on your coat and like, look at these shoes. I need to get these redone. Nobody wanted to tell the king that. Nobody wanted to be the one to tell that king that, but everybody knew. And Viserys is not stupid. He knows too, but he doesn't want to deal with that. He's happy that his daughter actually has children, his grandchildren, right? He's happy about that. She is his heir. She's the one who's going to sit on the throne. She did her duty and had some children. Be they of her husband or not, she got some kids, and he just wants that to be enough. Because if you remember earlier on in the episode, he was explaining to Rhaenyra how vulnerable they were because they didn't have enough heirs. They didn't. It was too few of them. So getting into Viserys' head, he's happy that there's more of them. True blood or not. He's like, at this point, he's like, fuck it. It needs to be more of y'all. It just needs to be more of you. He's upset, and he wants to know who told. And he's pressuring Aemon to tell him. And Aemon just looks. He doesn't say too much, but he looks. And everybody looks too. And they all know that it came from Alicent. Oh, yeah. Alicent probably was the one who told him. But he doesn't say anything. He just has his one eye, and he letting the Cyclops work. Well, eventually he does say something, and he says his older brother's name of Aegon. And then you hear Aegon, and they're like, "What, me? Me?" And King Viserys goes over to his oldest son and starts having a little conversation with him about where did he hear such shit. Now, I thought this was an interesting moment. I have to give credit to Alicent's boys. Alicent's boys got some stones. Them Targaryens got some stones, boy. They got they got some fire-breathing ball sacks over here, because even with his father, the king, standing in his face, barking, and Aegon can't look at him, but he's telling him, like, everybody know. We all know. Like, we all know, father. Like, it's not even like he's pleading with him. He's just, like, trying to wake him up. Like, dude, we all know. These things are his kids. Kids are bastards. We all know this shit. It don't matter who told us. We all can look and see him. Just look at it. And he tells him, just look at him. He get it. He got a head full of white trussed hair. His father got a head full of white trussed hair, old or not. His auntie, or excuse me, not even his auntie, his older sister, Rhaenyra, got a head full of freaking white hair. Them kids is dark hair as fuck. Them is not none of us. It's like it's obvious, right? So I thought it was that Aegon really had some stones, in the sense that he actually said that to the king. But in actuality, I'm thinking, where did it come from? Well, Aegon was probably drunk. He's probably hungover. He had been drinking that whole time. He was probably still kind of drunk, so he didn't know what the hell he was saying. So basically, I'm reading this scene as they went to the pothead to ask him about some real shit. He just gave him an answer like, dude, I'm high. What the fuck you want to hear? Like, yeah, the man hurt kids. Yeah, I know. That dude is dead. What? They went to the wrong one. And it made me chuckle a bit because he said that shit, like, oh man, because it's just like it's going down from this point. That here in this room, all the family is here and all this shit's coming out. It's being said. It's like it was tense in the beginning of the episode. This part of the episode, look, it's coming out, man. It's late. People tired of this shit. It's been a long day. Yeah, it's coming out. It's going out. And what you end up finding out is that the king don't want to hear that shit. He don't. And this is what makes him look weak, is that he just wants them to make their apologies to each other and stop the infighting with each other. And kind of commands it that they're just gonna say their apologies. The cousins are gonna apologize to each other and take their asses to bed, right? Well, Queen Alicent ain't feeling that shit. She is not feeling that at all. And reason being is because her son lost a damn eye, and she is not okay with that. Which I get with Alicent. I get that. If somebody had scarred my child like that, yes, I'd be looking for literally an eye for an eye at that point. I would want that. Doesn't mean I'd get it, but I want that. And that's what she says. She tells the king that flat out. And the king Viserys is not trying to hear that. He wants her to calm it down. She don't want to hear that shit. Her baby has been scarred. Oh no, she want the eyes. She want one of Rhaenyra's boys' eyes. And she orders Sir Christian to do it. I'm like, wow. She just making blatant, in front of everybody, power moves. In front of the king. She's defying the king to his face in front of everybody else, in front of the whole family. She's like, fuck no. Your son is scarred. Her boy did it. Fuck that. Give me an eyeball. She on some Cersei shit at that point. Like, yeah, you gonna get it. To hell with you. You know? She is tired of Rhaenyra and her shit. She's tired of her. And her son has been scarred for life. She wants some justice. I get it. This is where I saw started really feeling the depth of the writing in a sense. It's like I'm feeling the sway, like, yeah, she got a point. She got a point. What do you want me to say? Boy did get his eye cut, but they were all fighting. So, yes, I'm seeing Viserys' point too. It's like, I'll just apologize and take your asses to bed. See his point too. All of them was fighting. Wasn't like nobody wasn't fighting. One of them just ended up a little worse off than all the rest of them. One got a broke nose, one got a lost eye. The girls got swollen faces. I mean, everybody was in it. It was in for a penny, in for a pound. It was all fighting. So he just trying to brush it off. Well, Allison ain't hearing that shit. And Christian Cole is put in a position where he's supposed to go over and take the eye out of his ex boo thing. And he doesn't want to do that. And as a knight, it is outside, to me, from what I understand, it is outside your honor to do some shit like that. The fact that she asked was already like, that's a bit too much. I mean, that's a prince. You're supposed to be going to plucking his eyeball out because you commanded it. No, that's dishonorable. He doesn't move. Allison is not happy with that shit at all. And in what you would not expect from Allison, in a sense, is Allison grabs the Valyrian dagger off of Viserys's belt and runs towards Rhaenyra. She about to jug that bitch. And it came down to like, oh shit, Allison about to cut a bitch. I was like, oh my God. She was serious. She was running with that shit in it with intent. Like it was Michael Myers on Starbucks or something like that. She was coming. She wanted to jug that. She wanted to jug her ass. And everybody immediately, like a good gang war, start forming sides and holding people off, right? And I thought that was the most interesting thing. Is like, you never know where people stand until something serious happens. Then you'll find out where they stand. When Allison rushed Rhaenyra with that damn dagger drawn, and the king is screaming and everybody freaking the fuck out, like, well, what the hell? Stop her. When her Rhaenyra locked up and she started telling her what's what, you saw the sides for who was holding who. Christian Cole stepped up. Yes, he did. So Christian stepped up. Yep. Who blocked him, though? Daemon. The cool brother in the back, leaning against the wall, just smiling at all, his good works. Because like my boy Sam Black Bane said, it's like, shit, this is Daemon's fault anyway. I'll go back to him. He's sitting back there laughing. And I told him, yeah, Daemon's standing back there laughing like Loki. I'm looking at my good works and chaos is beautiful. Chaos, what was Littlefinger's line? Chaos is a ladder. Okay, he watching the ladder get built. So he square up with Christian and hold him back and everybody pulling sides and stuff like that. And you finally get Alicent telling Rhaenyra exactly what the fuck is on her mind, exactly what she feels about her. And I can tell you, in this scene, I felt Alicent. I felt her. She was right. She tells Rhaenyra that she's going to get away with it again. And that basically her entitlement as the heir to the throne lets her get away with all kind of shit that Allison has not been able to get away with. Allison had to play by the rules, and she's done it. She's played by the rules. She's done her duty. She's had sex with a scab bag and everything. And this bitch over here just wantonly fucking around with everybody, do whatever she wants to, and people still protecting her. She tired of that shit. And this is a good scene because it shows how not holding people accountable can push good people to do bad fucking things. Bad fucking things. That's how you make a good person go bad. You keep letting bad people get away with shit. Rhaenyra ain't been right. She wasn't right when she had them strong kids in Lion. Yeah, she might have tried it with Laena, but you're supposed to keep trying it. Awkward or not, figure it the fuck out. That's your duty. But no, she went and had not one, not two, but three babies by the same guy that don't look nothing like her family line. You think they believe in that shit? Look, man, it might have been kind of passable with Cersei and little blonde-headed kids claiming Baratheon. Maybe. Okay? Maybe. There is no fucking way in hell. You got the white hair, your husband got the white hair, and these kids come out dark-haired as fuck. Without a trace of mix in them. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. I don't care what you call that shit. It's wrong if you really want to think about it. That shit is wrong to try to think everybody else is supposed to play along with that shit. And Allison in that scene to me is right. She's right. I feel her pain. I do. But you can't jug the heir to the throne in front of the king and everybody else. Like, damn, she went fucking nuts. Right? And the other part of the scene is Rhaenyra fucking with her about it too. Because Rhaenyra knows. Now they can see what you really are. Pissed off? Look, man, there's a lot of people standing in that room pissed off at her. A lot of them. For the shit she pulling right now. And being allowed to pull. Because Viserys don't want to call her on that shit. This is what makes people think he's a weak king. Or don't believe he's a weak king. This is the kind of shit. Because he's letting her get away with making a mockery of the station, of the duty, of the family line. Now, it would be said that when they broke up Alicent and Rhaenyra, that Alicent cut Rhaenyra. I don't think that's what happened if you watch the scene. Alicent wasn't trying to cut Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra wanted to be cut. If you watch that scene again, Rhaenyra guided Alicent's hand down to cut her. That's what it was. Because she wanted that sympathy. That her bleeding after that exchange swayed everybody to her side. At least the ones that wanted to be swayed. That's what got them. Because it made Alicent look like she was trying to murder her. And started, an open beef where people had to choose sides. And that's why I call it the video colors. Because after that, everybody was on their sides and they was colored up. They had their sets together. Blacks and greens was standing mean. Gangs of Westeros. They picked their sides after that. That's when it started. And it was a ploy. Alicent was shocked. Rhaenyra wasn't shocked. She let that shit go for dramatic effect. I'm like, she made that bitch cut her. She made it cut her. Because if she was really gonna get cut, she would have got jugged when Alicent came in for the stab. She wouldn't have got sliced. She would have got stabbed. I don't know about you, but I've seen chicks fighting with knives. They go in for the kill. They ain't going for a slice, nigga. No. So everybody is shocked. Everybody's appalled. Rhaenyra's cut. Alicent tried to kill her. Everybody breaks it up. And a little bit before this, I believe it was King Viserys made the decree that nobody says anything, speaks on the illegitimacy of Rhaenyra's kids. And anybody that did, their tongue would be cut out. After that is said, the attempt on Rhaenyra's life happens, and those people are set apart, pulled apart. It's over for that kingdom. The wedge is set. The wedge is firmly in place. From there, it's just this. That gulf is going to keep opening up. And while Aemon tries to console his mother, which is a cool line to show how much this boy has grown in just one flight overnight, that he doesn't mind losing the eye. He has Vhagar. It's worth an eye. It's like, shit, boy got some sense now, too. Oh, my God. Even his grandpappy, Otto, was like, yeah, damn, that boy was right. because nobody else was thinking about that shit. Shit, we got a dragon. We got the oldest and the biggest one too. This motherfucker brought up the power level on our side. He came back over 9,000. Like, shit. Okay, way to go. Now everybody breaks up and goes their separate ways, but this is the divide. This is what settled that episode to let you know what the fuck is going on. And this is pretty long. This is a whole hour fucking reaction. This should have been a review, not a reaction. I never remember that. But the whole thing afterwards is that everybody is in the resolve, is understanding what has just happened, how the balance of power and how the sides have been, how the lines have been drawn, the sides have been set, and how the balance of power has shifted, and things they need to do because of that. And from this point, you get Daemon and Rhaenyra talking about what steps they need to make first to consolidate their power. And one of those things is what Laenor was suggesting, which is he is of no use to Rhaenyra. And sure enough, a little thing goes into play, and Daemon talks with Laenor's boyfriend, offers him some money, some words in the right direction, and the next thing you get is that little boyfriend taking on Laenor in the castle to the death. Paid him to attack him and kill him. Now, what you find out is when the guards are coming in, because the little squire boy that was there went and called him, Laenor's been thrown into the goddamn fire and been burnt up and killed. And Lord Corlys and Lady Rhaena are traumatized now because they have lost both their kids. They have no more children. Their only descendants now are Rhaenyra's sons, technically, and Daemon's daughters. That's it. Their family line is about gone at that point. God damn it. Excuse me. Alerts. So with Laenor dead, you get Rhaenyra and Daemon secretly marrying in the old custom of Targaryens, which actually binding their blood together. Because now she does not have a husband, he does not have a wife. They marry each other, uncle and niece, which is not the weirdest way it could go in Westeros. It's not the weirdest way it could go. I mean, look, if you've seen Game of Thrones, it was Cersei and her twin brother. You know what that means? They shared a womb together, and he was sharing her womb, and they had numbers of kids. So Westeros shit. So that's not that damn weird. What you also find out after that is that Alicent and Otto have a conversation where Otto is really impressed with Alicent and actually believes in her, which means that Otto is going to actually throw his full support behind his daughter. Where he might not have had it before, he might have did his machinations and left her out of some of it. I think at this point, he's going to have her all in. She's going to get all the info. She's going to get all the business. She is going to be involved in the plot because she showed some strength that he was impressed about, that he didn't think she would be able to take it there, and she did. She was willing to kill Rhaenyra right there in front of the king and everybody else. So Otto is like, damn, you good. The force is strong with you, daughter. Like he happy now. But he's also thinking that, yes, this has tipped the balance of power in our favor because king ain't going to stay mad at you and he ain't going to live that long. So be patient. He going to die. And then it's just going to be you and me, daughter. And we got a whole nother dragon over here too. So we good. We good money over here. The Greens is sitting back. They sitting back and playing their game of Thrones. And not Daenerys, excuse me, and Rhaenyra and Daemon have decided they're going to play their Game of Thrones together. The sides are set. So the ending of this episode is King Viserys, Lady Queen Alicent, and the dragons heading back to King's Landing in Westeros. And Daemon and Rhaena and the kids and Corlys all being back on high tide and seeing what happens after that. And I'm like, yes, I'm all in for this. This is exciting. This is what I wanted. This was the best episode of TV this week, of television, streaming television this week. It was. This was the best episode. If you had to match this episode up against anything from Andor, She-Hulk, and Rings of Power, which is contemporary shows that are out right now, I think this episode would still stand above them all. It would. It was good. It was a really good episode. So that's it. That's my review of House of the Dragon episode 7. I really enjoyed this episode. I can't stop talking about it with people and trying to find out who saw it, who didn't. Better go watch it so we can talk about it, and having good feels when I think about the episode. And that's what's important to me, is having that story, that show resonate with me to where I'm happy when I think about it. So like, share, subscribe, support the stream if you feel so inclined. $artisanmc. I know this was a little long. It's longer than the usual reaction or review, but I had to put my stamp on it. I had to put my stamp on it and get my 2 cents in the cup on it. So that's it. I will see you guys next time. Peace.
You want to talk to me?
Think you're awake, but it's all an illusion.